Central Texas Life with Ann Harder.
Hello, everybody. Ann Harder here. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Central Texas Life. It is really going to be a fun half hour for you, I can guarantee you, because we're going to be talking to Sherry Kuehl. And you have written a book, Sherry. You joining us now from just outside of Kansas City, a suburb in Kansas City. And you have written a book called Empty. This is not your first book, Sherry, but
it was kind of a departure for me because it was kind of like a pandemic book that I think, I really need to write this because I do my Snarky in the Suburbs stuff, and I've written 2 books with, I'm going to call it the Snarky in the Suburbs character. So I really wanted to branch out and tell a different kind of story about aging, being in women and aging and having a lot of change in your life. And you're like, whoa, I don't want any change. I'm good. I wanted to explore that.
And that's where the fun begins. Your taglines are things like, hell hath no fury like a menopausal woman scorned.
Right.
And they're broke, bitter, and not ready to give up without a fight. Just some of the lines. It is a hilarious book, though. And of course, Sherry, I've followed your career as Snarky in the Suburbs. It's kind of a snarky Ann Landers, I guess, in a way, sort of.
Yeah,
I mean, you answer questions, Dear Abby. You know, you answer questions with just a little edge to it. And you've written a couple of other books. Well, I know at least one, kind of thinly veiled Waco area things,
which is most definitely thinly veiled.
Trouble in Texas, and but Empty. It really was a rollicking good time, as they say. Was so much fun, and in reading it and the characters that you have crafted, who are kind of relatable in a way, and in other ways, not too relatable. But how did you come up with these ladies? And as I'm reading it, I'm kind of imagining this as a screwball comedy. I mean, I just think somebody should pick this up and make a movie
from
out
your
of
lips
it.
to God's ears, Ann.
I know, it'd be good.
Definitely. So I am an aging woman. The characters are set like just at 50. I am older than 50. But in my 50s, a lot of stuff was happening to a lot of my friends. The divorce rate now in the 50 age category, that is the highest divorce age. You get your kids gone, they're in school, and then you look at your spouse and you're like, who are you? I think that we use all our kids' activities and all their competition sports as a spouse avoidance strategy, because you're always with your kid, or your husband has one kid doing soccer and then you've got another kid.
That's true. I mean, that's American life.
And your weekends are sucked up. You're traveling with these kids, and it's a spouse avoidance strategy. And then when those kids are gone and you don't have all that distraction and sound and fury, you're like, oh. So
maybe part of the reason pickleball is becoming so popular now, because that is something that couples can do together, because as you say, you're having to rediscover who this person is, and that you've got this empty nest with.
What you rediscover. So
it's like, why did I ever pick this to begin with?
Yeah. So I had a lot of friends / acquaintances getting divorced. And one of the main things with getting divorced is that these women who had, I'm just going to say, sacrificed themselves on the altar of motherhood, had nothing. They were very well educated. They had careers in the beginning, but then they became moms. And let me tell you, nothing is more debilitating than trying to find a job at 50 something. Yeah. I mean, if you do resumes online, they have bots that are going to kick it out just based on your age, or, you don't put your age, but they can figure out when you graduated college, and they boot you because no one wants you. I've had every 50-year-old friend that has gotten divorced, that has had to get a job to live. They've had to go into sales because they couldn't ever get back into the career in which they're trained for. Because think about it, if you have a kid at 30 and you're 50 and you get divorced and you have to start looking for a job, and not that motherhood is not the hardest job you'll ever have.
No, it's true.
Fulfilling, but it's not like you weren't working, and it's no one cares that you were president of the junior league, and no one cares that you ran your PTA, and no one cares that you were the president of a nonprofit, on their board with a huge budget that you helped oversee. No one cares. They want to know about the job you had that made money. So these women had like just a heck of a time finding employment. So you wrap all that in that, you got your kids launched, and that's when you're patting yourself on the back. I mean, currently
Sure.
I have 2 children with 401ks, and I'm just like, high five me. Great job, mom.
Amen.
So, you get them launched, you get them in college, and you're ready to embrace the empty nest. And all of a sudden it's like, no, you're not going to have a spouse. You're not going to have a job. You're not going to have health insurance, which to me is the most frightening thing ever, not to have health insurance.
Amen.
So have fun starting over at 50.
Well, and you may not even have a house, which
exactly, or
a place to live,
Exactly. And then it's all brought it home to me when right before the pandemic, I was fired. And the reason I was fired was for being too fabulous. Now you may be thinking, no, how could someone fire Sherry Kuehl? And
I can't imagine.
how could? Yeah, I mean, it was just, I was editor of a magazine. And so when I called back, I go, I was just fired. And my husband's like, it's because you were too fabulous. And I'm like, they couldn't handle my fabulous. And he's like, exactly. But here's the great thing. I had a husband to go home to that was going to make everything all better.
Right. Right.
He had the health insurance. His job paid, many, many more times than mine. So I was fine. But I was thinking as I was driving home for him to pump me up, how fabulous I was, that, oh my God, what if I didn't have him?
That's right.
And at this time, I still had Bella in a very expensive college.
This is your daughter.
Yes. I go, I at least had my son out of college. I go, what would I do? I couldn't pay the mortgage. I couldn't pay my bills. I couldn't keep on paying my daughter's tuition. I would have no health insurance because it was connected, to my husband. So it just kind of made me think I want to write this book.
Yeah.
And I want to explore this happening. I set the book in Orange County, California, because let's face it, I'd already done Waco with trouble in Texas. And
and you were going to get into more trouble if you.
Yes, exactly. I had to give that a break. So I wanted, and I'd been in Orange County so much because that's where my daughter goes to school in Southern California. And the women there are just like nuts. Remember, I was moving my daughter into the dorm, and she, like I said, she went to school in Southern California, and every single mom looked fabulous.
Yeah.
And I'm there like how you move a kid into school. I had on leggings and a t-shirt and tennis shoes from Target. I mean, you're doing heavy lifting. And it was hilarious. My daughter and I just started laughing. My husband didn't know what we were laughing about. He's like, what's so funny? And we whisper, I go, look at mom. Then look at the other moms. He goes, your mom looks great. I'm like, I do not look like a fancy mom. Okay.
Not fancy, maybe.
Plus, they were just perfect. I mean, they didn't have a wrinkle. Their hair was done. Plus, those false eyelashes thing where people get the eyelash extensions
Yeah,
now?
I've got them on right now, Sherry, so be careful.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know if that's they had like the ones where you're like, is something wrong? Because they're like,
Till they start looking sad like mine are looking now.
Let me just tell you, fish out of water.
Yeah, well, that's funny.
My daughter told me after a freshman year, she's like, don't do anything to your face. I go, okay, 1, afraid of needles, 2, can't afford it. So don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I go, why? She goes, because you look like a regular mom. I go, should I be insulted or take that as a compliment? She goes, well, you just kind of look like your age, like you're supposed to look. And I go, not really a compliment.
Still, yeah.
Pretend it's okay. So then I wanted to then she had a roommate who's, I don't know, stories of a mom who did all this stuff to her face and it melted.
Oh, there are some horror stories. Yeah.
I just worked that into these different characters.
Well, yeah, and that really was a cautionary tale because one of your characters was a television actress. She was an actor and kind of put on hold her career and so forth, and then did what we've seen, other celebrities do, and just make themselves look like freaks.
Yeah, I mean, it's
sad.
I mean, yeah, we've all seen it. I mean, if you're going through Instagram, you're like, whoa, what happened there? But I get it. It's addictive. I'm sure you get a little, and then you want a little bit more, and then you have another birthday comes by, and you want a little bit more, and you want to stay competitive. I mean, that's, youth is.
Well, and that's the thing. That is the kind of business that they were in. And of course, that character was just hysterical. She was wonderful. She's wonderful. One of your characters was a businesswoman.
Yes, and this
numbers type lady, and
another part of this is a person who, she's just like, we all know those people, and I watch those people. I was not one of those people, but that they do everything right. I call them like the goody two shoes. They, like in high school, they're like senior class president, and they're presidents of like, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And they're always busy, 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 busy being. And I'm over there, in high school at Richfield High School. Now I wake up, I eat a Snickers bar going, how do they do all that stuff? These are the people that are destined for greatness. Why yourself, I'm just getting tired watching that. So, and then they go to college and they do everything. So, that you think they're going to like, their path is written. I mean, they're going to have like this fabulous life because they're so like, focused and on top of it. And, God, how many times I had to call my dad saying, I lost my car keys. So, I mean, it was a family joke. But anyways, the people that have it all together, and then what happens when you have it all together and then, the rug gets pulled out from underneath you and you don't. So just exploring all those things, just like when you're supposed to be at the top of your career, when you successfully got your children.
Yeah, there's no reason for it
nothing.
not to be perfect, and then it suddenly is not perfect. So we've talked about Marie, we've talked about Cassie. Julie.
Okay, she's a composite of a lot of women I know that I've met throughout my lifetime. This is a very driven woman. She had like a terrible childhood, but she rose above it. And I mean, just really like horrible mom. She's from Texas, of course. And the finale of the book, of course, takes place in Texas. And she kind of just rose above it and kind of worked very, very hard and got married. But her husband's also from Texas, but he was kind of like, the biggest country bumpkin ever, and, didn't have shoes that weren't flip-flops. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But anyway,
I'm wearing flip-flops too, so be careful.
And I have currently no shoes. So first, I shouldn't be casting as, stones. So anyways, she they kind of remake themselves and they moved to California because they're like, California is the place to re-envision yourself to whatever, you want to be.
Right.
And they start this, ends up being a very successful financial investment business. And because she's dumb, but I mean, I can totally see myself doing this. She is like the brains behind the business, but she makes her husband the face of the business. And so, and she hires a really smart woman to help them. So when he dumps her and basically ghosts her and disappears with all their money, and she's trying to find work, it's like, well, I had this financial planning business. And they're like, well, what did she was not listed as like doing anything, although she's the one that started it with her money and, all this kind of stuff. So
basically got the shaft.
She did get the shaft. But from the outside looking in, and we've all done this. I've done this like so many times. You look at this person, this woman, you're like, oh my God, perfect life, beautiful house, beautiful clothes, seems like really nice kids. And just like how, it's like, how does she do it? And you're a little bit jealous because, you look at this woman and you're like, I'm a hot mess compared to her. And you want to hate her a little bit. And maybe you do. So, and she runs everything at school, one of those moms. So, and then all of a sudden she doesn't have anything. And I did have, I have had at least, I'm going to say several friends who have been just ghosted by their husbands. Their husbands disappear, or if they're not ghosted, they have no money. So when husband says he's going to leave him, he's taken all the money. He's taken all the credit cards. He's changed bank accounts and they didn't know. So they're not, all the money's been moved. And honestly, that could happen to a lot of us because in my husband's and I relationship, he does all the money stuff. So he keeps me informed, but a lot of times I'm zoning out. I'm like, no, mama. It's like when he talks about our retirement, I'm like,
and it's going to be here before you know it.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Like, okay, put this set aside, and then we're going to move this over that, and I think we need to get an I bond. And I'm like,
well, it's a good thing he knows all that stuff. I'm in the same situation.
But I mean, he could screw me over, and I wouldn't even know it. I mean, because it's your husband, Of course, since writing this book, I'm like, I want to know everything. So I think it's very easy for that to happen to a lot of women.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to really think about this. What would you do if your life that you thought was like fabulous and settled, where you wake up one morning, no husband, no money, and you got a whole lot of problems.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what would you do about it?
Okay.
And
so
kind of make it fun.
yeah. And so three
fun.
really, really engaging characters, but they meet. How did you come up with the way they met? I mean, I didn't even know this was a thing. Is it really a thing?
So on my way to Krispy Kreme donuts, which I'm just going to say I go to quite frequently, there is a medical testing facility where you can like check in, and get money for medical testing and everything.
Oh, really?
So every time I drive by it, I'm like, wonder what that is like. So I called and pretended to be a person that wanted to be tested for, for like a drug. So, and I said, well, I'm going to need a tour first before like I spend 30 days here and everything. And they said, well, it doesn't work that way. So then I had to call a couple places, and I got in for like, a tour, and the money's not bad. I mean,
really?
If you need money and for 1 month you can stay in a dorm environment and make $9,800. Meanwhile, it's rent free and you're getting food. If you really needed money, that would be a chunk of money after a month. So, Of course, the higher the money, the more the drug could, mess with you. But if you need money, I mean, I was thinking, well, that'd be one way to do it. So, but it's funny because when you go online and look at a lot of these places, it does look like, this looks like a pretty, decent hotel. It's the one I saw. It was like, living back in the dorm. I mean, I don't know, at my age, I don't want to be in a bunk bed. That's just me. Some people might like it.
But I guess if you're desperate enough, you do what you need to do.
Enough. And then I thought, well, what if like it was like a menopause drug, like, because I'm like, I mean, would that be like the most, like, just think about it. You're 50 and you got nothing, and the only thing you got going for us is that your estrogen level is depleting, and apparently that's something someone wants to investigate and pay you money for. So, and I thought it'd be a great way for those 3 women to meet up, because how else would they ever have?
Right, they would have really not much in common. So they
had their desperation in common.
Right, their desperation was in common, and anyway, it is just hysterical, the things that happen to them, and the skills that they have acquired over the years, how they're put into play to bring about some justice. Which is that, I was kind of going through, because I always, when I know I'm going to interview somebody about a book, I highlight things, and what I highlighted was all your references to Joanna Gaines. So.
Okay, there were a couple. Because what if Joanna Gaines did trick out, like, she could get into the mobile home business, the trailer business with the shiplap.
With the shiplap, yeah.
And you can get Joanna Gaines chairs at like Nebraska Furniture Mart.
That's true.
They're all over the place. And Target, you could pick up a Joanna Gaines, whatever you want at Target. So I just thought that was like fun to throw in, because I know a lot of people would
a lot of people would see that. Well, I certainly got a kick out of that. And no, it is madcap hilarity, I should say. Little salty language, and you did warn me about that.
I did. I warned you because like when you first said I want the book, I'm like, oh my God, there's cursing. And
Ann Harder is going to read curse words.
Yeah. I mean, it was befitting the characters.
It did.
It was gratuitous, because I would never just do like, gratuitous cursing, but I think it was like befitting the characters. They weren't around young children. It's like 3 desperate women talking, and they're going to let like a curse word fly.
Yeah.
So,
well, I have to say, I mean, I could see situation comedy out of this, or maybe not a Hallmark movie, but
no, definitely not a Hallmark movie. Especially, they just, the Hallmark movies did get a shout out though.
Well, we're going to take a short break, but when we come back, I want to learn more about Sherry Kuehl. We're gonna dive a little bit. Your favorite topic, and so we're going to visit just a little bit more. But you stay with us. We'll be right back.
Frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about Frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Hey, I'm Zach.
And I'm Mike.
and we have a fantastic new podcast to tell you about. Bros, Foes, and Heroes. It's the two of us looking into the world of comics, breaking down some characters that you may have never heard of, and some that are just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, so Zach comes up with a character each time, and I go into it just completely blind. I don't know who this person is or what their abilities are or anything, and basically I guess we kind of go over their origin story and just some of the ridiculous stuff that maybe, especially Golden Age stuff.
Oh, Golden Age stuff is always the best, and we will make sure to highlight all of the shenanigans and just absolute weirdness of everything.
Yeah, that's right. So subscribe today and follow us on Instagram at Bros, Foes, Heroes.
And if you don't, I know where you live. Not really, but please subscribe.
Bros and foes and heroes. Gonna tell you about bros and foes and heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Hi, this is Sarah,
And I'm Carter.
and this is Some of Our Thoughts.
We're two Southern sommeliers, and we want to share everything we love and know about wine. We started hanging out during quarantine and cooking and drinking and listening to music, and we just thought this would be a great way to bring everything we know to you guys.
We will make wine knowledge and food pairings easy and approachable. So put on your favorite vinyl, grab your favorite glass of wine, tune into our show, and let's have some fun.
Wine and
vinyl.
So check us out on roguemedianetwork.com or wherever you get your favorite podcast. We'll be talking about a lot.
Welcome to One Star Rewind, a new podcast about those dreaded one-star reviews that every business owner hates to receive, but yet every customer loves to read. During this podcast, we will peel back that one-star review to better understand how it happened, when it happened, and what the business owner is doing after receiving that one-star review. This podcast will be about love, hate, and laughter. On One Star Rewind, we will meet with real business owners who will tell their stories and how they do rely on reviews for their business. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or download us at roguemedianetwork.com. Please subscribe, but only rate and review for not a one-star review. Join us each time for a new review and a new story.
And we're back again with Sherry Kuehl, who is joining us via Zoom from her home in Leeward, Kansas. Is that right? Leeward,
Kansas.
No.
Yeah, it's a beautiful suburb of Kansas City. We
Kansas
love
City.
Leeward.
You and your wonderful husband, Cliff, and your kiddos, Austin and Bella. Of course, I remember, let's go back because you mentioned Richfield High School. We just had our high school reunion and walked through the halls of Richfield. You should have been with us because they're going to tear the thing down.
No, they're tearing down the high school?
Yep. Building a
it's
new
about
one, building a
time.
whole, I guess it's time.
Old. It was old when I was there.
Well, yeah, because you're younger, much younger than I am.
Yeah,
A lot younger than
not
I am.
much, but yeah, it was old when I was there.
Well, so yeah, that's happening. But that says you grew up in Waco, and that kind of helped you form, some of the background, I guess, on your Trouble in Texas book. That is hilarious as well. But met Cliff
In high school.
Yeah. All right. So I know that he's from here, and you let's see, went to college. I know you went to UT.
No, I went to Baylor, and my husband went to University of Texas.
Okay, I knew somebody was at UT.
Yeah, my dad told me I was going to Baylor because my sister went to the University of Texas and came home drinking a beer out of a can. I don't know if he was more upset about the beer or the fact that she didn't have it in a glass, but he looked at me and he said, "You're going to Baylor." I'm like, okay.
Okay.
And I loved it. Love Baylor. Love it so much.
Yeah. Well, we do too. So yeah, and Cliff, he's had an amazing career with
has.
public television.
He certainly has, and he's loved it.
Yeah, yeah, and so it's you've moved around a little bit.
We
But
have.
you
We kind
worked
of
you were
helped.
here in Waco. You
Yeah.
worked at Channel 10, right?
Oh my gosh, it was my first job, KWTX at Channel 10, and I'm forever indebted to them. And Jackie Wooldridge, shout out to her, got me that job.
Yeah.
She made a phone call and got me that job.
Well,
She said she didn't, but I know she did. So much gratitude to her.
it's good to know people. That's true.
Yeah.
But of course, we got to know each other when you were working at KXXV. You were doing mornings.
Which is great if you're a mom with young kids.
Yeah.
Because you go to work when they're asleep and you get home right when they're waking up. So it was a perfect job.
Yeah. Yeah. But that was, and of course, I remember looking back, there was some bloopers with with Sherry every once in a while.
Blooper might be my middle name.
Oh,
So-
but anyway, we had some fun. We had some fun back in those days. So you moved to Reno. I know y'all were in Nevada for
Yeah.
a while.
And we loved we loved it. Our kids became such great skiers because you're super close to Lake Tahoe. My daughter went to afternoon kindergarten there. So we would drop my son off to school and then we would drive up and ski. And then we would ski some, my daughter and I, and then I would drop her off at kindergarten. I mean, it was like a crazy lifestyle.
That
love
is
it.
amazing.
It's so good that they're amazing skiers. So, and I think that's one of the reasons my daughter likes the West Coast.
Yeah,
Why she stayed
yeah.
out there.
Yeah, she kind of cut her teeth, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
You ended up, though, in Kansas City, and you said you wanted to stay there. You've been there.
Yeah,
Quite a while
I
now.
wanted the kids to graduate high school here. I didn't want to bounce them around a lot when they were, I just think that'd be horrible to have a kids, move in high school because I did. So I didn't want to do that to my own kids. And we just really like it. We like being centrally located. And I call it pressing the easy button. It's just easy. Everything's easy here. I was in California last week with my daughter. I'm like, this is not the easy button. California's hard. Just from the driving and the traffic and, so we just totally love living here very much.
Still have folks here in Waco?
My husband is in Waco right now visiting his mom.
Oh.
Yes, both my parents are deceased, but my mother-in-law is still going strong.
Oh, good. Well, I hope when you're in town, we can get together. But through these years, you have, we mentioned it earlier, you have crafted a character, a writer named, well, you just called it Snarky in the Suburbs. Is Snarky your name or?
Well, here's the deal on that. So when we moved from Reno to Kansas City, as is the case, I was really lonely because I left behind some great friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sending some emails just blah, blah, blah. And one of my friends said, oh, these are really funny. You should start a blog. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. So I called my son, my 14-year-old son at the time. And I go, Austin, set me up a blog. And he's like, all right.
Okay.
And so he goes, what do you want to call it? I go, I don't know. He looked at me. He goes, how about Snarky in the Suburbs? And I'm like, that works. And I love alliteration. So let's go with that. So he just set me up a WordPress blog called Snarky in the Suburbs. And it's just taken off from there. So,
well, and it is hysterical, and I've always thought you have the most wonderful sense of humor. You just see things in such a funny way.
You know what I think that is? It's from being a reporter for so many years.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you met me, I'm not the life of a party. People meet me and I think they're really disappointed because they expect me to be the life of a party. I'm the person standing back looking in. I think it's just being a reporter because you notice stuff. You're trained to notice stuff. Basically, you're paid to notice stuff. So it makes me an observer of people. And I think that really helps my writing. Plus, to be able, with my books, to write fiction after being I worked for CNN on the Wall Street Journal, having to be a hardcore reporter and always think about facts. And you never want to get anything wrong because you lose your credibility and blah, blah, blah. So to be able to write fiction is it's fabulous. No one's fact checking my fiction. I love it. It was such a creative release. It was fantastic.
Well, your imagination, though. And it's, as you say, empty. You have these amazing characters that you've crafted that are based on what you've observed.
Yes,
and your friends, the lives that they're
lived, and
yeah. Well, it is a hysterical book, and empty. How can folks get a copy?
Well, just go to Amazon. You can do my name, or you can just type in empty or snarky in the suburbs, and everything you want will pop up on the Amazon. All my books are an ebook, paperback, or audiobook.
You,
So if you
got the audio. And of course, I advised that you should have done the audio for the audiobook, but you did not.
Okay, here's the deal on that. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of technical expertise because
Really?
Audible will kick it out if it's not perfect technically. So it's not like you can just sit at home and do it.
And record
you-
something.
Yeah, like the people that are helping you do your podcast, please, everyone needs to appreciate the power of
Oh, and I do.
professional audio person.
I thank them. I thank them every day. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just like it's.
And they do
really
audiobooks here too at Rogue Media. A little shout out
Yeah,
to
let's do a plug. Yeah, they need all the plugs they can get because it's like, I may try it with my next book, but it's like I said, it's a lot of technical stuff. I mean, like I said, you can't just do it at home. That's not going to pass muster.
So what is your next book?
Okay, so I have a book coming out in mid-September, called 4 Seasons of Snarky. And it's back to my Snarky in the Suburbs character. And what I did, I cheated and I took my favorite blog posts and kind of did a compilation. I have like almost 1,400 blog posts. So I picked my favorites and it's, they're based like, different seasons. And I thought about I go, oh, should I do this? But then I'm like, well, when I die, no one's going to pay my WordPress fee and all those blogs are going to go away. So I go, I'm just going to put it in a book. So at least my grandchildren, who I don't have any, what if they want to look back and read and go, grandma was crazy. And then my son and daughter can go, you betcha. She sure was
We
crazy.
knew her. Yeah.
And I'm going to price it, very low. And I mean, my husband's laughing. He goes, so in your description on Amazon, you're going, do not buy this book if you've read every blog post. I go, yeah, because I don't want people to think they've been cheated or something. So, but if you haven't, and a lot of these are gems that people haven't gotten a ton of, hits or reads, but I just wanted to offer that out. Plus there's some really long format blog posts, 3,000, 4,000 words. And I call them novellas. And it helped me think I could write a book because I could write a story,
Right.
that was that long. So, and then in January of 2023, I'm very excited about this. I have a book coming out called Death of a Dance Diva, and it's a Snarky in the Suburbs mystery because I've always wanted to do a mystery and I've always wanted to write about crazy dance moms because not that I was a crazy dance mom, I was the same dance mom observing the crazies. But I felt like I had to wait till my daughter totally was out of that environment long enough so no one would come after me. Kind of like Trouble in Texas.
Yeah,
so,
kind of like Trouble in Texas.
I don't live there. I can write it. So I wanted to be, she's 4 years out of the competitive dance world. And I just wanted to do it's a murder at a national dance competition.
Oh my goodness.
All the crazy moms that, they're like, did she do it? Did she do it? Did she do it? Just to, explore all that. And I am having a blast writing it. It's so much fun. Of course, my daughter, Snarky Jr. goes, well, maybe I'll read this one since it's about dance. And I'm like, well, thank you.
Really?
I hope you can find the time.
So she's not reading all of your 1,400 blog posts.
No, my kids read nothing. And I like to keep it that way. And my husband barely reads anything except he has to read some because people will go, because I write a column for the Kansas City Star, a weekly column for the Kansas City Star also. So people will always say stuff. Oh, I read what Sherry wrote. And he's like, what'd you write? What'd you write?
Well,
I write about him a lot. So it behooves him to maybe know. We were at an event last week and he tries to tell somebody, oh, Sherry wrote. And he's like, she makes up a bunch of stuff. I go, go ahead and tell yourself that because I don't. And he goes, well, I have to tell myself that just to, keep myself sane. So,
Well, we're definitely going to have to do this again.
Thank you for having me.
When you're next, this is so much fun. I missed seeing you, and I wish you were sitting right here on the couch next to me.
So do I.
Yeah, I would just be so much fun. Next time you are in town, do be sure to get in touch with me. But Empty is a book you should read because it is just so much fun. It's really, really fun. And again, you can go to Amazon, Sherry Kuehl, Sherry Kuehl. There are a lot of ways to spell Sherry.
There are a lot of ways to spell Kuehl. It is like a name that you always have to spell for people, which is why we named our kids first names that anyone could spell.
Right.
Because, it's a lot.
Yeah.
They always get it wrong,
Kuehl.
which is okay.
Oh, Sherry, it's been a delightful time, and thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me. It was good to see you.
Oh, you too. I know. And thank you for being with us. Join us again next time for Central Texas Life. Bye-bye.
Central Texas Life with Ann Harder is part of the Rogue Media family. Be sure to check out our other shows at roguemedianetwork.com. Please rate this show 5 stars on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get your podcasts. Join us again soon for more Central Texas Life with Ann Harder.